What's up? It's George the Fragrance Apprentice here, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new 2019 release, Hugo Boss Bottled Absolute. I've got some good things to say about this, and some not so good things. So, let's jump into it. I'd say that the biggest thing for me that made me interested in getting this, or at least testing it out, was the fact that it's done by Annick. And Annick was the original creator of Boss Bottled back in 1998, which was of course a huge hit. She's had a very prolific career since then, but she never went back to Boss Bottled, which can actually be quite an unusual thing. You see Jean-Paul Gaultier consistently going back to Francis Kurkdjian to help with their Lamal series, and he's done a number of flankers for them. And this is just a common thing that happens in perfumery, but Annick had never come back to Hugo Boss, and in particular Boss Bottled, with this fragrance until 2019. So 21 years later, why did they do that? Well, I have a theory of my own. Hugo Boss have been trying to make a sort of an intense version of Boss Bottled for the longest of time. They've done Boss Bottled Intense, they've done Boss Bottled Infinite, and they've done Boss Bottled Unlimited. Those two things actually mean exactly the same thing, might I just add, but they never quite got it, never felt very intense or spicy, and I think that they just went back to Annick and said, look, we don't know really what is going on. This was your creation, that you perfected this DNA. Could you help us out? Could you help us make a more intense version of Hugo Boss? I think they did a great job with Hugo Boss Bottled Oud and Hugo Boss Bottled Tonic, both of which I own. I think they've had some successes, they've had some hits with the Boss Bottled line, but they've also had horrific misses, such as Unlimited, Infinite. Yeah, they've not been very good. Boss Bottled Night, I'm not really a big fan of, and Boss Bottled Sport was not something that I was interested in either. So has Annick cracked the code? Has she given Hugo Boss the intense, spicy, woody fragrance that they've always wanted out of this line? Let's find out. So let's go with the presentation. I really like the presentation of this bottle. I think that it's actually one of the best versions and one of the best looking Boss Bottles. It looks as though it's been engraved from cement, or it's come out of, like cement or stone or something like that. It looks very cool, looks very engaging. It's a great looking bottle, and it's one of my favourites, like I said, from the whole line. It just is very eye-catching, so I would be happy to give the presentation a 5 out of 5. So, the scent, here we go. Quite simply, Boss Bottled Absolute is, when you think of Absolute, the first thing that actually comes to your mind are things like Oud or Saudi Arabian, Eastern type styles of fragrances. That's usually what's proliferated with the Absolute name. But this isn't that. This is all of the woody elements of the Boss Bottled DNA, all of the cinnamon, the wood, the darker elements, even a little bit of incense, just raised up to the front level. And things like the apple and the vanilla are still there, definitely, but they've been toned down. The sweetness has been toned down, so you've got a really, really muskier, the sort of the ultimate woodier, muskier version of Boss Bottled. Now, with saying that, there isn't a problem with balance. There's a really good combination of balance between these musky and woodier elements that have been drawn to the surface and the sweeter, vanilla-y, apple-y elements as well. There's definitely a maintaining of balance. It won't trip you up, it won't go too far in any of those directions, but this is obviously highlighting and spotlighting those woodier, musky elements, and what you get from it is something that actually can be a little bit powdery at times, which some people may or may not like. I do like it, but it is very intense, and it has got that really sweet, powdery, musky accord turned up all the way to 11, and because of that, it is something actually that's new. It is a new story in the Boss Bottled line. It's not redundant, which is good. The original Boss Bottled is very vanilla-y and apple-y, and it's sweet and it's pleasant and it's lovely, and that's why it was a huge hit. But this is the more masculine tone, the more domineering elements, just really, really pushed up. Very straightforward concept, but did they do it well? Or did Annick do it well? I'd say yes. I think that the one thing that I could say about it is that it's solid. It had an intention of what it wanted to do, and the execution was near enough perfect, and I think that Boss Bottled, or Hugo Boss should I say, all have a collective sigh of relief. They finally got the fragrance that they wanted and that they've been trying to do for years, and they did the right thing by going to the original creator of it. I'd say that if you take into consideration everything that I've just told you, there are two things that I would say. The first one is it's a solid release, it's not completely redundant, it's fine, but it's not breaking any new ground. It's still quite average. It's still recognisable as Boss Bottled. It's fine, but I'm not sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, they've blown it up. They've completely changed the game. No, they just wanted a more woodier, intense, incensey, powdery based version of Boss Bottled, and that's what they got. So I'd say that I'd give the scent a 4 out of 5. In the context of they knew what they wanted to do and they did it, and it's pleasant and it's lovely, and if you like this DNA, you're really going to enjoy it. There's no question of that. Performance is great. No real problems there. I'd say that the projection is heavier than the longevity. I would give the projection a 4 out of 5. It is very strong. It's very good, of course it will be, because it's got those larger, woodier aroma chemicals, all based into one fragrance, so it's got that. But longevity is an average Boss Bottled longevity, and I'm talking tonic, Sport, the original, and that's disappointing because it boasts out it's got quite a big scent cloud at the beginning, but then after about, and we're talking 6 to 8 hours, I'm not really getting anything. Or it could be the problem that it is an incredibly linear fragrance. It really is what you smell is what you get, so it could be that my olfactory system is just getting used to it very, very quickly. But after about 8 hours at a push, I'm digging into my skin, I'm not really getting anything. So, projection 4, longevity 3. Price point, it's fine. It's average, it's okay, it is what it is. I got this little 50ml here from All Beauty, and I can't remember how much it was actually, but it wasn't terrible. It didn't freak me out. It's not giving you the absolute prices that are usually given to most fragrances that have the word absolute. Compliments, not really. I've had this for about 3-4 weeks. I've worn it pretty consistently. It's not been that big a deal. Compliments haven't really come. But maybe this is the wrong season. I can imagine that in spring this could do very, very well. So in conclusion with Boss Bottled Absolute, killer presentation, absolutely killer presentation. But I think that it's pretty much going to be exactly how you pictured it, if I'm honest. It is just like I've said all the way through, there's not really a mystery to it. It is a more woodier, muskier, powdery fragrance and iteration of Hugo Boss Bottled. It's not offensive. People are going to enjoy it. People are going to like it. It's not completely redundant because I know that Hugo Boss have been trying to crack this code for years, literally, and they finally, I feel, achieved it. But was it worth it? Sure, why not? But it's not anything groundbreaking. It's not going to be something that you're going to smell and think, bloody hell, I wouldn't have thought of that. It's great, and it's pretty strong with performance, so it really is up to you. It's not something that I would say to you right now, oh my god, you've got to buy it, but it's not exactly something that I would say to you, don't buy it, it's a waste of money, because it really is what it is. So I'd test it yourself, and if you are a fan of the Hugo Boss Bottleds, which I sort of am, I kind of come into it and take it or leave it. Sometimes I'm into them, sometimes I'm not into them. I'd say that this is an average but solid release, so test it yourself if you're into this line of fragrance. Anyway, I hope that for the rating, you know what, it's a 4 out of 5 for me, and the reason being is it's not redundant, it's something that they've been trying to do for a while, and it smells good, and that is, for a lot of people, the main thing, right? So a 4 out of 5 overall. I hope that you got the information that you wanted. I hope that this review helped in your decision making. I'm the Fragrance Praise, and if you're new here, I'm uploading pretty much all day, every day at the moment, so stick around. I've got new content very consistently at the moment. I'm the Fragrance Apprentice. Thanks so much. Bye.
The sign The sign